English councils are illegally turning away homeless young people, a charity says. We're going to read into this more from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from The Guardian with the headline that English councils are illegally turning away homeless young people, a charity says. Centrepoint records 564 instances of gatekeeping, including dozens involving young people who were pregnant or had children. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. Now, the headline is, of course, the term illegally here. So what this basically specifically means, especially when we're talking about people who have kids, people who, women who are pregnant, we're talking about these obviously people who are in these situations should always be given emergency accommodation. Now, we also know that councils have been struggling to find accommodation for people. We know that they are getting stretched, and we know that we are lacking homes quite across the board here in England. There's absolutely no question about that. There should always be something offered on the table. Now, I have heard cases, and some of you may, who have been keeping up when it comes to this situation, where there have been cases where they have been offered accommodation miles away from where they are, basically to completely pack up, basically take everything that they have and move to another place, basically a one-way ticket to a certain all the way like to the other side of the country, pretty much, to have the emergency accommodation they want. But obviously in that situation, for some of those people where they're surrounded by, where they have some friends or family, or maybe perhaps their only job that they have to try and make some little money for themselves is they're basically being told that they have to move to another completely entirely different place because there's only accommodation for them in that situation. Now, I don't like that men are left to, that they're, especially single young men, or any men in general, they're always the ones who are left off the worst in society. I don't like that, but at the same time, I understand how important it is to prioritize women and children. I totally do. But this accusation that they are illegally turning them away is very, very much a cause for concern. And if this is to be true, then councils need to face action, need to face some action over this if it is found to be true, is what Centrepoint are recording here. Everyone needs to be given some kind of helping hand in some way, shape or form. And it's not right that charities are the ones who have to step in and help people off their feet. The whole point of a government is to help people, is to give people an opportunity in life. Everybody has a different situation that they go through. Everyone's situation is different. Lost job, divorce, could be all sorts of reasons. You know, possibly they've committed a crime, they've just come out, they don't know where to go. There's all sorts of reasons why people end up homeless. But we all know that the cost of living crisis has caused even more people to be homeless than before, among other factors that are involved in this. And while I completely understand council's situation, that they are stretched and they are struggling, and let's be very, very clear, we know councils are struggling. I've read more than enough reports and enough spokespeople saying that they just don't have enough homes. Totally understand that situation. But if this is involving young people who are pregnant or had children, this is a big fat no-no for councils, and they should not be in any way turning anybody away, who, especially those who are family in any way, shape or form. They should not be forced in, should not be turning them away and leaving them out to fend themselves on the streets. If we're talking about a family, I don't think anyone, I mean, God forbid, if I ever see a family, like a mother and its two children sitting huddling in a corner, homelessness, it would absolutely shock me to the core, and I'm sure it will shock you. Luckily, I've never seen that ever here in England, but God forbid if I ever do, that would break my heart. But still, more needs to be done from the government to help poverty, to deal with poverty on all fronts as well. We need to help people. People need a helping hand. And this headline is very concerning, to say the least. So hundreds of homeless young people, including dozens who are pregnant or have children, are being illegally turned away by councils when they ask for help, The Guardian has learned. As government figures show, the number of households with children living in temporary accommodation in England rose by 15% in the last year to nearly 75,000. It emerged that a young pregnant woman who was sleeping rough was refused support because she wasn't 20 weeks into her pregnancy. Others were rejected because they were wrongly judged to have no local connection or to have made themselves homeless, and in one case, despite a person having fled domestic abuse. The cases are among 564 instances of gatekeeping by council officials recorded by helpline operations at Centrepoint, a homelessness charity. The Minister of Housing, Communication and Local Government, the MHCLG, said the problem was extremely concerning. Councils and homelessness charities have said they need more funding to protect vulnerable people. This is why we need the government to invest. On Thursday, annual homelessness data for England showed 146,430 households were assessed as being threatened with homelessness and therefore owed a prevention duty in 2023-2024, up 3.1% in the year. The number of families living in temporary accommodation rose by 12% to more than 117,000 after several years of stability. The number of asylum seekers needing help because they were required to leave Home Office accommodation more than doubled to 3,420 households, and the number of households who need help owing to rent arrears because of rent rises has almost doubled to 590 households. Yes, that's also taking the fact that the landlords and the rental market has been atrocious to renters. Landlords have pretty much raped huge amounts of money out of them. They have forced so many people out of their homes into homelessness because of what they've done. A lot of landlords have done this very cruelly indeed. Centrepoint have said helpline recorded 82 cases in the last 14 months where homeless people aged between 16 and 25 who've had children or were pregnant were turned away by councils, and helpline staff said this is increasingly common. You know, some of the landlords who put them in this situation, you know, some of them should be locked up and thrown away, locked up in prison for some of the ways they treat renters, some of them. Paul Brocklehurst, the charity's senior helpline manager, said staff were spending increased amounts of time advocating for council staff to provide homelessness assessment and temporary accommodation, as it is their duty under Homelessness Reduction Act and Housing Act. The blame, we can't just lie with councils, though, he said. Decades of chronic underfunding from central government may have forced to make impossible decisions around who gets what support. The new government must urgently address this. The only way the government, in all seriousness, the government needs to put its hand in its pocket on this. They cannot sit on this. They cannot wait on this. The government has to have some money in this now. Councils cannot cope. Councils desperately need money. They desperately need money. This week, the County Council Network said that without a multi-billion-pound boost to their funding, they would be reduced to little more than care service, for which they have a statutory duty. It is unacceptable that people, often at their most vulnerable, are experiencing homelessness, and we want to make sure that they can find a secure home, a spokesperson for the MHCLG said. Councils have a duty to ensure vulnerable people are not left without a roof over their heads, and we have a committed to working with them and local leaders to develop a long-term strategy and end homelessness once and for all. Adam Hugg, the housing spokesperson for the local government association, said councils were doing their best to meet their duties to vulnerable young people at a time when they are under mounting pressure to find suitable homes for ever an increasing number of people. He said paying for temporary accommodation for 113 households costs councils £1.75 billion a year. The problem of illegal gatekeeping comes as several homelessness charities, including St. Mole and Shelter, warn that the services to get and keep people off the streets were at significant risk. If a £500 million funding stream from central government to local authorities due to end in March was not extended. If you cut this, you're killing people. You're literally killing people, Labour. The 2022 Rough Sleeping Initiative has helped fund about a third of St. Mole's services in London, costing nearly £18 million, including a housing first scheme that prioritises getting rough sleepers into accommodation. The charities want the funding to be extended for 3 years at the budget on the 30th of October. So another thing to keep an eye out on the budget. There are so many things that is riding on this budget. And yeah, people's lives literally are hanging by a thread on this budget. It really is depressing. It is severely depressing, guys, to know that there are people out there who are being turned away. And I like, this is the thing. I generally don't believe it's because councils don't care about them. I generally believe it's because they just don't have enough accommodation. I generally believe that the majority of councils are stretched. I really do believe that, and they're just not getting enough support and help. For the last 14 years spoke for itself, guys. We saw stories after stories that how councils were getting cut to the goddamn bone by the Conservatives. They are desperately need a boost of income. They desperately need it. If Labour do not give them a boost, people will continue to be worse off. We will continue to be in a cost of living crisis. We will not grow the economy as they keep banging on about growing the economy. You want to get people into work. You want to make the economy better. Start by helping the poorest in society. Get the poorest in society the help, the support that they need. Give them the homes that they need. Give them the incentives they need to get back into work. Don't leave them hanging. Don't leave them to die. That is the message I have for Labour. Don't ignore them. Don't let them suffer. You can make a difference here, and you have a chance to do so. Don't be as cold-hearted like the Tories. Please don't. I know I'm pulling out. I know many people don't. I don't have much faith in Labour, and I totally understand that position. But yeah, a lot of things are riding on this budget. People's lives are literally on the line by some of the decisions that they're going to make. So what do you guys make of this story? What do you guys make of English councils illegally turning away homeless young people? Do you believe what I'm saying with the councils that are stretched to the bone in England and there's only so much that they can do? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comment section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.